welcome to the 13th November, Wednesday, 2024. How are you? Good morning and welcome to our program, Morning Uplift. I hope you are lifted. I hope you are looking to be lifted during your day. And now that we are on the 13th of November, we can all agree with one another that it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, right? Yes, if I heard the voices, I will sing. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. I hope you are related with the thoughts of Christmas as I am. And if you're not, it's okay, it's allowed. But you see, for me, when we bring about the thought of Christmas, we are in a, I am quickened to remember the death and the resurrection of Jesus. And I think this is the season that each and every one of us should go through the book of Luke. You see, it has 25 verses, which you can start all the way from the 1st of December all the way to the 25th of December, where we get to celebrate the Christmas, the resurrection of Jesus. Because if he had not resurrected, my brothers, my sisters, we wouldn't be singing as joyful as we do at this particular moment. We will be so miserable, we will be so downcasted. But because he rose again, he died and rose again, we get to celebrate him. We get to celebrate the joy of being a Christian, the joy of having a new life, the joy of being renewed every single season. And so when we think in that line, automatically what comes to our heart, it's the joy of gratitude. So today I want us to speak about gratitude. I want us to speak about the power of gratitude. And because when we look at gratitude, we also need to reflect within us, like, where am I being gracious at this particular moment? Where am I feeling the joy of gratitude at this particular moment? So today we are going to rather explore the book of Psalms 103, where the Bible tells us, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name." Now, where are we blessing the Lord? Again, the Bible says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, forget not all his benefits." So there are benefits that has come with having Jesus in our hearts. There are benefits that have come along our line for us knowing who God is for us. The Bible says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgives all our iniquities." So one of the benefits, he forgives our iniquities. He forgives our mistakes. Remember some time ago we said, it is wrong of you to stand and say that you do not make mistakes. As long as you are mortal, as long as you are human, automatically you make mistakes. You get the sins of omission, you get the sins of commission, you get the sins of knowing, the things you see, the things you hear, the things you speak. There's so many ways you can do mistakes. So one of the benefits that the Bible is telling us of even having God with us is the fact that he forgives our iniquities, along with the Lord's Prayer, where he tells us, where we go ahead and tell him, "Forgive of my sins as I forgive those who trespass against me." So here is a whole affirmation that he forgives our iniquities. The Bible goes ahead and tells us he heals. Who heals all your diseases? Imagine going to God in prayer and telling him, "God, heal me." So it is good to bless the Lord. Remind your heart. There's so many times that our hearts may wonder, why am I being gracious at this particular moment? But remind it that, "Bless the Lord, O my soul." And as we're reading this, I want you to read it with the depth of you in it. This is the verse that I really like you putting your emotions in it. If you're going to feel the engraving of "Bless the Lord, O my soul," don't go shouting at that verse. Read it with a lot of tonations that shows love and completion and being fulfilled. "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name." So whether it is my fingers, whether it is my brain, whether it is my eyes, bless the Lord. I'm commanding you this morning, bless the Lord. My head, bless the Lord. My eyes, bless the Lord. Because he forgives my iniquities. He heals my diseases. And what else does he do? He redeems. Verse 4 says, who redeems your life from the pit, who crowns you with steadfast love and mercy. That's a whole reason to be gracious in this season. So as we are looking into Christmas, as we are looking of the joy of salvation, as we're looking at the death and the resurrection of Jesus through Jesus Christ being born, we are just quickened to be reminded this season, can you go before the Lord and tell him thank you? Let everything that is within you bless his holy name, because he satisfies you. Verse 5, who satisfies you with good as long as you live, so that your youth is renewed like the eagles. Can you just marvel at that? Just ponder on that. Just imagine every single day that you wake up, you're being renewed. Why? Because God is with us. Because God is gracious to us. And for that reason, remember our topic today is about being gracious to God. Going back with the heart of thanksgiving, with a heart of gratitude. So when you're reading this, we're just going back and telling God, you know why I'm giving thanks today? I'm giving thanks because you've renewed my youth. Like an eagle, you've healed my soul of diseases. You've engraved me, you've crowned me with your love and your mercies. Those are not things to take for granted. Those are not things to go ahead and think that it is obvious, that I did not fall sick through the night, that I did not go through tribulations that really swept me away from the presence of God. So for that reason, go back and say thank you. Why are we saying thank you again? We are saying thank you because the Lord works vindication and justice for who are oppressed. So I thank you, God, for even in my oppression, you are working vindication for me. You are working vindication and justice for me who is oppressed. So be it the seasons that the devil has decided to oppress me, go back and tell God, you know what, thank you, that even in this season that I was oppressed, Lord, you vindicated me. Lord, you gave me justice. You gave me justice. And also there is power in saying thank you even for things that they are yet to come. There is power in saying thank you for those things. You know, there are times that we've really asked. Some people will say, Wairimu, I've been believing God for this. It's okay. Go ahead now that you have believed God for that. Go ahead and say thank you. Say thank you for what he is about to do for your life. Because the power of being gracious, the power of being gratitude, the power of going back with thanksgiving is so strong, is so worthy. So this morning, I'm reminding you, why are we saying thank you again? We are saying thank you. On verse 8, the Lord is merciful. Are we together? He is merciful and gracious. There's a song that really goes ahead. A singer sang it and said, Ingalikuwa Mungu anauliza mwanadamu jinsi ya kuntendea mwanadamu, basi mimi singelikuwa. Angekumbushwa dhambi zangu za kale, na ni mingi. There are so many. But he will keep on being reminded, you know what, Wairimu did this, Wairimu did that. But because God is God, but because God is merciful, verse 8 it says, the Lord is merciful and gracious. My Lord, if God was not merciful for me, So why am I saying thank you this morning? Thank you, Holy Spirit, that you've been merciful, that you've been gracious to me, that I've come in your throne with all my impurities, and you're willing to accept me. Because it goes ahead and says, verse 8, the Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. Remember, now we are now seeing steadfast love for the second time in this same chapter. So we can all agree how good and how loving our Father is to us. So that's enough this morning to go back to God in prayer and tell him, God, thank you. Thank you for your steadfast love to me, to my family, to my nation, to my society. Lord, it's not by might, it's not by strength. It has just taken your hand, your loving hand, the fact that you are slow to anger. Because sometimes we really go astray. And the things we do, if it was done to a human being, they will be quick to anger. Because again, we are mortal. But because God is abounding in love, He's slow to anger. That's why today I can stand here and testify that the Lord has been good to me. The Lord has been gracious to me. The Lord has engraved me with His mercies, with His love, and He's continually refreshing me, renewing my youth, renewing my strength, renewing my being for His name, for His glory, for His sake. Verse 9 says, He will not always chide, nor will He keep anger forever. Awesome. Awesome. The reminder that God is not going to keep anger forever. It's another reason for you and I to bless God's name. So today, as you go about, as you ponder about your day, kindly let Psalms 103, verse 1 all the way to verse 9, be a testimony and the reason that you are going out there boldly. That, Lord, today I'm not looking at what the finances and the news are reading. Lord, today I'm blessing you because you've renewed me. Lord, today I'm blessing you because you've favored me. Lord, today I'm blessing you because you've been slow to anger concerning my matters, concerning my being. That has been an eye-opening for me. I hope it is for you. I hope you're going to ponder on it. And as we go to take a sip of water, we shall be back with the inspiration video. See you then.
We may be knocked down, but we are never knocked out. J.B. Phillips. Sometimes in life there are catastrophes that overwhelm us. Hard Pressed but Not Crushed by Reverend Elijah Mwangi is a book that will encourage you not to break under the weight and pressures of this world. To get this book, contact 0722 487 121 at 500 Kenyan shillings. That is 0722 487 121 at 500 Kenyan shillings. Literacy is a bridge from misery to hope. God bless you. Welcome to Annie Planet, where the wonders of the animal kingdom come to life. Join us on a thrilling adventure as we explore the untamed beauty of nature and witness the extraordinary lives of creatures big and small. From the mighty jungles to the vast oceans, Annie Planet takes you on a journey beyond imagination. Get ready to embark on a wild ride filled with captivating stories, stunning visuals, and fascinating facts about our planet's incredible inhabitants. Any planet where every creature has a tale. Don't miss out on the adventure. Every Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. only on Truth TV.
Truth TV, empowering you.
And very much welcome back, and I hope that you are blessed. Are you prepared with your pens and your pencil, because your books are going to get inspired and you are going to jot down some very inspirational topics, words, and I hope that you're going to be blessed with the inspiration video. Let's dive into it.
Between the condition of obesity and mental health issues, i.e. depression.
The CDC has released statistics that show people in more states are larger than ever.
Let's face it, we're getting fat. In fact, it's so bad, some call it an epidemic.
More Americans than ever need to take their health seriously.
Obesity is linked to a variety of health issues, including heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, and also kidney disease.
We truly have to address their issues head to toe.
Wake up! Stop sleeping on yourself!
You know, I want to prove somebody wrong, but if you're not willing to put in the work, you're never going to change.
I've got to finish strong. I've got to condition myself. I've got to get out of bed. I've got to go to the gym. I got to eat clean. Nobody's going to feed me. I got to feed myself.
It is time to make sacrifices that many people will not make. It is time to rise and grind.
Where could you be right now if you weren't so lazy?
Are you willing to be the hardest worker in the room?
It's not going to be easy. These are the things that should scare you. Looking at yourself in the mirror each day and not liking the reflection you see staring back at you.
You want to lose the weight? You want to reach your target, your aim? You got to put the work in. You got to be willing to do what 98% of the people in this world are unwilling to do. You gotta eat differently. You gotta work differently. You gotta think differently. You gotta walk differently. If you want next level, everything you do has to change.
There is no more time to waste.
The thing about transformation is you have to do it. You've got to put in the work when nobody cares.
You can change your circumstances and you can change your life. You have the power to do anything you want to do. You just need to be willing to do things differently than you've done before.
You gotta feed yourself the food that is required to power the body that you want. It's not about trying to be a lone ranger more than it is about taking responsibility and prioritizing yourself first.
Now what are you gonna do? You're gonna worry? You're gonna cry? You're gonna give up because it's hard? Who said it's supposed to be easy?
But if you want to change your life, you'll need to do what's right, not what's easy. Too many people choose the easy road even when they know it's not the right road. Take the path less traveled.
Mediocrity is everywhere right now, and we're all trying to find an easy way out. That's the mediocrity of life. It's like I worked myself so hard that I turned a person this up into this mother right here.
We gotta take responsibility. and we have to pay the price of results. Count up the costs and pay the price. And hear me well, nobody's gonna pay it for you.
Be the hardest worker in the room. You go after what you want. You fight for what you believe in. You push with everything you got. You go 110%. And you wake up.
So in order to change something, to arrive at a new vision of your future, you'd have to change something about yourself in order to get there. And you'd have to change the way you think, the way you act, and the way you feel.
If you're not willing to work, if you're not willing to sacrifice, if you're not willing to hurt, if you're not willing to bleed, if you're not willing to struggle, then you're not gonna get what you want.
You have to put in the effort. You have to put in the time. You have to put in the blood, the sweat, the tears. If it doesn't sting a little bit, if it doesn't burn a little bit, if it doesn't make you a little uncomfortable, you probably won't get very much out of it.
You gotta move your body, you gotta change your energy and your focus. Like, if you're not happy, you either have to change your life or change your blueprint.
I've got to be willing to do the uncomfortable things consistently that I don't want to do.
You're already in it now. All you gotta do is keep going through it. And when you start to feel weak, find a way to be strong. Don't let weakness overcome your power. Don't let weakness tell you what to do. Don't let weakness say that it's over. Just because you are depleted doesn't mean you are defeated.
What were you placed here to do? Get to work, get to work, get to work.
Each and every day, you're executing some type of game plan. That game plan is either going to lead you to massive success or massive failure.
It's like, okay, what am I gonna do with what life has brought me?
It starts inside of you. You don't know who you are. And it's not easy.
Like when you make the decision now about who you're choosing to be the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years, you're actually saying, count me in.
So you keep fighting. You keep pushing. Make sure every rep, make sure every mile, make sure every breath you take counts for something. And if you fall down, you better get up.
But you gotta silence the voices in your head that are telling you, you are not going to make it, you are not going to win, you need a shortcut, you need a cheat code. Eliminate the negative, self-sabotaging voices. Find a mirror and tell yourself, I got this today. I got this today.
If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, your life will be easy. It's hard to make a radical change in your behavior. It's hard to take ownership. It's hard to swallow the bitter pill that wherever you find yourself, at some point in time, you made an appointment to be there.
Why you stop is because you're lazy. It doesn't bother you enough to be mediocre, to be average, to sit around and watch people do great things. You don't mind it. You don't care enough about yourself, so you don't stay in the fight.
You have come too far to quit now. You have invested too much to quit now. You have lost too much to quit now. Get a reward for your pain. Don't cry about it. Don't whine about it. Get a reward for it.
In order for you to reach your destiny, you have to keep going. Keep going because there's people that don't want to see you succeed. Keep going because you want to prove those people wrong. So you gotta keep going.
Believe in every push. Believe in every rep. Believe in every mile. Believe in your purpose.
I hope the inspiration video has been a blessing to you, as it has been for me. One thing is my take home today is the fact that just because you are depleted does not mean you are defeated. How is that? Ponder on that as we take a commercial break. to go into the third segment.
Welcome to Annie Planet, where the wonders of the animal kingdom come to life. Join us on a thrilling adventure as we explore the untamed beauty of nature and witness the extraordinary lives of creatures big and small. From the mighty jungles to the vast oceans, Annie Planet takes you on a journey beyond imagination. Get ready to embark on a wild ride filled with captivating stories, stunning visuals, and fascinating facts about our planet's incredible inhabitants. Annie Planet, where every creature has a tale. Don't miss out on the adventure. Every Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. only on Truth TV.
Truth TV, empowering you. Truth TV, empowering you.
And very much welcome. Now, have you ever looked into your society and the things that go through around your community? There's so many things that, are there that we've not really been opened up into the knowledge of it. For example, our different abled people around our community. We have so many of them. So our today's topic is one that is close to my heart, in that I really need to understand how well do I go around the abled differently in my community. And I hope you too are looking forward to understand how well do you handle that person that is in your area, and what are some of the things that you ought to look out for, or rather some of the help that they ought to get, and what are the not to do things that you ought to do with them. Those are so many things to ponder in a minute. Now, today's guest is such an amazing guest that we do have on set, and it's such an inspiration to have young people, young blood in the set that are really looking to changing your nation, my nation, for the better of it all. Hello, Rachel.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing
You
good.
look pretty.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now look at that camera. Please say hi to our viewers.
Hi,
and
everyone.
Please introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel, and I am a social worker by profession. I deal with kids with different types of conditions, and I am so happy to be here today.
You're much welcome. We
Thank
are
you.
so delighted to have you. But now, when you talk about social what again?
Social work.
A social worker. What does that entail?
Okay, so usually when we talk about social work, we mean we call it a helping profession.
Okay.
So we mean anything from sick people to people who need any type of assistance.
Okay.
Really, a social worker can work from hospitals to the legal system. They're required in courts. They're required in the jails. So really, anywhere where people need assistance, social workers are there.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's narrow down a bit today for the people that are able differently in our community. How do we go about them in our community, especially maybe to understand what are some of these common types of disabilities in our community?
Okay, so some of the disabilities I've dealt with are including, especially when regarding little kids. So we have autism, we have Down syndrome, we have Tourette's. Tourette's is not a very common one, but it's something I've experienced personally. But we also have things like spina bifida. Spina bifida, it's a common disease where you're not able to control the lower half of your body. I think you've seen it. So
yeah,
most people,
I think I've seen it, but I don't think I knew it is called.
Yeah, it's called spina bifida.
Okay.
It usually occurs when a child, just during pregnancy, a child the spinal cord is affected. So once that child is born, they're not able to control the lower part of their body.
Okay.
So stuff like bowel movements, the bladder, you're not able to control it. So most people have seen this type of condition, but they really don't know the term.
The term.
Yeah.
I think the fact that it is a spinal thing.
Yeah.
Now that's why it's called the spinal bifida.
Spinal bifida, yes.
The term comes basically from the word itself.
Yeah, from the condition itself.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Now, these disabilities and especially the autism, now that's much, or rather widely known. Is there a way to discover it in time? And can we ever get to have total healing from it?
Okay, now the thing with autism, we say it's a spectrum.
Okay.
Now, it's not really something you can diagnose the same way for all the kids.
Okay.
Okay, it's usually diagnosed between the first and the third year of the child's life. Now, after 3 years, you will definitely notice, but it's usually diagnosed between the first and the third year. So usually, when we're talking about autism, we can have a child who is severely autistic and mildly autistic. So when we're saying mildly autistic, the reason why it's so hard to diagnose it's because they interact like any other child.
The mild one?
Yes, the mild one.
It can be anyone.
It can be anyone. But now the thing with autism, especially mild autism, is the fact that the reason why you can't really diagnose it early is because there's not really much of a difference. The only thing is that during social interactions, they might be a bit awkward. But then that happens with a lot of kids.
Yeah.
It happens with kids who are introverts, so you might not really notice it very early on. But when we're talking about severe autism, it's when now it affects your speech, it affects how people interact with others. Kids might be very scared to interact with other people. They might only interact with the mother and the father, very close relatives.
They need family.
So when we're diagnosing autism, we look at very different things. We're not going to use the same test to diagnose a mildly autistic child as the same as a severely autistic child. So that's why it becomes very difficult. But with autism, it's something that kids can overcome.
Okay.
Yes, it's something that, especially if it's diagnosed early, it's something you can deal with, you can work through, and then at the end of the day, they end up being just as independent as any other adult. Yes.
I'm tempted to ask, what are then these symptoms that one can look into to understand or rather diagnose that this particular child or this particular person is autistic?
Okay, so the first thing you need to look at is how do they interact with the very first person, the mother. You need to check how are they interacting with the mother. Is there some sort of fear? Is there some sort of awkwardness? Is there some sort of difficulty in expressing themselves? Are you finding it hard to express yourself? Is your child finding it hard to express their emotions to you? Do they really show you when they're angry? Do they say that they're angry, or do they act out? Do they start banging their heads against the wall? Do they cause severe tantrums? Those are the things that you need to check. Especially with autistic children, something I've noticed is that when they're acting out, they don't exactly say that they're angry. They don't exactly cry. Some of them will hit their heads against the wall. Some of them will cause, will roll on the floor. Now, this is not a normal tantrum, because with normal tantrums, the child is not trying to hurt themselves. But with autistic children, they're actually hurting themselves because there's something wrong with we say their senses are out of sync. So it means that they might not feel pain the same way that we experience pain, the way that other kids experience pain. So especially when they're doing it, look at their tantrums, look at how they express their emotions. Are they doing it in a very extreme way to a point where they could hurt themselves? That's what we look at, especially when we're trying to diagnose kids with autism. Yes.
That is awesome. Are you getting to understand anything? Because I think here my mouth is just wide open with and now we've dealt with the autistic kids, but I know there's such a broader perspective of these disabilities.
Yes.
How are we supposed to handle such children or such people in our society?
Okay, so in my experience, especially when let's talk about in a classroom setting, especially when you're dealing with kids with autism, the best thing to do is to use visual aids. Kids with autism are very creative. I think you've heard this. When a person is blind, all the other senses tend to be stronger.
Alert,
yes. Now the thing with autism is that because there are certain functions of the body that are not working properly, now the brain compensates for that. Now this child ends up being very creative, with a very creative mind. So most of their learning techniques are they tend to use their imagination a lot. So especially when you're teaching them, make sure you're using visual aids. If you're trying to explain something, if you're just reading from a book and you're trying to explain something to them, they're not going to get it. Other kids might get it, they might get the concept. But with autistic kids, it's very important to bring their imagination into
being.
Exactly. Show them, this is a bicycle, this is how you use it. Let them try and ride it, stuff like that. It really helps them, because they're able to imagine it, they're able to feel it. You know, they're using their senses to compensate for the parts where they might not really understand certain concepts by just reading them. Yes. So, yeah, I think that's very important.
That's such an awesome thought, or rather a way to look at it. But now I'm looking at, since CBC has come, and it is all inclusive, whether this kid is able differently or they are the, quote unquote, the normal kids. Is there a way, like, do I go and inform the teachers that, you know what, my child is ABCD, or should I just allow them to fill in the gap as they come in the school?
No, it's very important to make sure that you inform the teachers, because sometimes, especially when teachers don't really know what's wrong with a child, they might think this child is just a slow learner. Because even with the CBC, I do admit there are some gaps, especially when dealing with autistic kids or any other disability really. But make sure, it's very important for the teacher to know, because they know how to not really treat them differently, but they know how to interact with these kids in a way that is beneficial to them.
Should they be treated differently though?
I don't think kids with disabilities should be treated differently.
Hata ule mwenye kuna mwenye hatimbi vizuri, kuna mwenye haoni vizuri.
I mean differently in this perspective. I mean differently, don't, especially when you're dealing with kids with disabilities and others who don't have disabilities, don't show that there's such a great difference between the two.
Okay,
sometimes,
don't wish.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Don't be too how do you say, sympathetic.
Okay.
Yes. Use empathy, don't be sympathetic.
There's a difference.
There's a difference.
Which
yeah,
is,
when you're
please?
being sympathetic is niyo sasa tunasema wishe. Yes. But when you're being empathetic, you're putting yourself in their shoes and you're trying to understand them a bit more. So what I mean by not treating them differently is just simply don't show that there's a very big difference between the other kids and the disabled kids.
Okay.
Make sure that there's a balance. I mean, yes, give them attention when they need it, but don't have we say, there's a term, helicopter parenting, where you're just always there, you're looking at the child always.
We call it actually, it's running away. The term is running away, but when this adverts used to come, there was the Dettol parent, there was the gay, those type of parents.
Yeah, so don't always have around these kids. Give them some freedom. At least let them make mistakes and learn from them. Yes, that's what I mean by don't treat them differently. But of course, it's important to acknowledge that they are different and they require a certain extent of care.
Okay.
A certain level of care, assistance, all of that, yes.
Do we have some of the myths and misconceptions concerning the children that are able differently?
Of course. Okay, so from my own personal experience, there is one myth that was very crazy to me. So I was dealing with an autistic child in one of the smaller towns. So the family really believed that if you touch this child, you're actually going to be autistic. You're going to get autism. They actually believed that autism is a communicable disease. They believed that it is a communicable disease. And to be quite honest, it was really sad because no one really wanted to interact with the kids. And you see, this misconception comes from not really understanding. And can you imagine the mother not wanting to touch the kid because she's afraid that she's actually going to get autism?
That is sad.
It's really sad. It is. But then I think that's one of the saddest misconceptions I've had. But generally, I have seen a lot of people believing that all people with disabilities are helpless. That's not exactly true.
I think that's why we even tend to treat them with the wishy kind of mentality.
Yes, which is not okay. It's really not okay.
Okay.
I think if you give them space, if you give them time to actually prove themselves, you can learn a lot from differently abled people.
Wow.
Yes.
And they have this certain strength, especially the blind.
All of them have strengths, of course. When you're given when God allows you to come to this world and you have areas where you're lacking, of course He makes other areas really strong.
Okay.
Of course He can't send you to this world completely disadvantaged.
I can imagine. Okay, now that you put it like that, it really brings home the idea of not holding them so egg-like that you feel they can break at any particular point. But there's someone out there maybe that's looking at especially that myth and misconception. It has really gone out of my system because I'm imagining there's someone out there also who's like looking at these children or rather has been blessed with a differently abled child. How do we deal with that particular parent? Is there a care that we can give them then?
Of course.
The parent to the abled differently.
Yes, I think, again, in my experience, parents sometimes find it very difficult when dealing with these children.
Especially acceptance.
Especially acceptance. Now, first of all, my advice to the parents would be, give yourself grace, give yourself time, be patient with yourself also. Because the first thing that people think once you give birth to a differently abled child is all the hardship and all the struggles that you're going to go through. And that's absolutely okay. It's okay to think about that. It's quite normal because you expected something different. But then the child is already here and now you're thinking about all the hardships. So give yourself time. Be patient with yourself. Grieve. First of all, grieve all the expectations you had.
Okay.
All the expectations that you had concerning this child, all the things that you wished this child would do. Grieve all of that and give yourself enough grace to grieve that. And then move on. From there, now try to find help.
I'm thinking, do we have places, community, in the community where this parent, especially the term that you've used, grieve,
Yes.
do we have spaces enough for these parents where they can go ahead and grieve the expectations they had in their hearts?
Sadly, that's not something I've seen. It's not very common to have a place where you can, because first of all, you know, it's very difficult to tell someone. Let's take me for example. I have a differently abled child. Imagine me coming to tell you that I feel so sad. I feel really bad that this happened. I really don't know how to handle this situation. I really wished this child would be something different. The first thing that people would do
it's what I've done.
Exactly. The first thing that someone would do is to judge me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and yet you can't even put yourself in my shoes and try to understand what I'm feeling. The first thing you do is judging. You know, so there are not a lot of spaces where you can do that.
Yeah.
And even the places where you can't do that, let's say you're seeking therapy. Now that requires you to actually pay sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't have enough money. You don't even have enough money to find help for your child, and now you have to start seeking therapy, and it's not available. I haven't seen places or spaces where parents can do that, but I really think it's very important. And if you're a parent and you don't have a space where you can grieve openly, pray. You can tell God that I'm really having a difficult situation.
time.
I'm having a difficult time in handling this child. And then from there, just give yourself enough grace. Yeah,
believe that
give
God is
yourself
going to do the thing.
Yes. And don't feel guilty, because I have seen parents who feel guilty for having those types of feelings. And they get really angry at themselves, because why are you feeling this towards a child? But you have your own expectations. Of course, you never thought that would happen. Yeah, of course. You never thought that would happen to you. And that's absolutely okay. It's absolutely okay to have expectations.
I know we've said much, especially about that. But now, is there anything then you can tell us, those that now we are coming with to someone like, I'm imagining as a parent who has a different able child, and they are approaching me to be for me to be their shoulder to lean on. Okay, even my words are failing me. But can you then help us to demonize the spirit of stereotyping, even to the child and to the parent themselves?
So first thing, if someone ever comes to you and they want to just grieve, first of all, listen. No one is asking you to have all the answers. Sometimes the first thing that you want to do is to come up with a solution.
Yeah, because I just really want to get out of this.
Yeah, you just want, and sometimes it comes from a good place. You really want to help. But then it's not always the most productive thing. Sometimes just listen. Just listen. And don't be afraid to say, I don't have the answers. I don't know what to tell you. But just be there. Just listen. That's what you're doing. You're just being
Are you allowed
shoulder.
to cry then?
Personally, you. As in, okay, let's assume I'm the one giving you my story, and you're crying.
Because it's touchy.
Okay, yes, you can cry.
And maybe I'm a crybaby.
I mean, okay, that really depends on the person, to be quite honest.
Because I can't talk.
But personally, if I'm sharing my story with you, and it's already hard for me, I can't cry, and you're crying. It's just, it makes me feel
like the world is crumbling.
Yes. Try to be strong. If I came to you, then I expected you to at least be strong for the both of us.
Okay.
At that moment, yes.
Then let's put it like this: if you cry,
yes,
am I allowed to cry with you? Moral support.
You can, yeah. But if you're the only one crying, then you make me feel like my problems are much bigger than they are.
Yeah, true.
Yes, try to control your emotions. That's why you're just a shoulder to cry on.
Oh my God.
Just the shoulder. Yeah, you're not anything more. Really.
You're not a handkerchief, or an onion, please. Okay, now you know better.
Most shoulders can't cry. Most shoulders can't speak. Most shoulders can't. You're just there.
Become the particular shoulder here.
Yes, you're just there to listen to me. Let me grieve. Just let me grieve.
Okay.
And then when we're done with that, that's okay. Next time, if I want to come back, just be there. Just listen. Yes, that's the most important thing. Because the issue is, if you're trying to come up with solutions, they might not really be the best for me.
you.
Yes, you can't exactly put yourself in my shoes completely. You can only tell from what I'm sharing with you. You can only tell pieces, fragments of what I am feeling from what I'm sharing with you.
So basically, you've told us that the person that has come for you to be their shoulder to lean on,
yes,
please avoid advices.
Yes, please.
The ones we call the TMI, like, just avoid being too much for me.
Have you ever noticed that even when you are going to a therapist, they're not really supposed to give you advice. They're really supposed to listen and then try to come up with solutions with you. They're not supposed to tell you this is what you're supposed to do. No, they're meant to listen. And you imagine this is someone you're paying, but they're not giving you solutions. They're working out your problems with you.
They're helping you form a timetable for yourself.
But once you sit down with someone and you listen to their problems, trust you me, they'll mention something and they will end up realizing that, yeah, that's actually something that I can do. They end up advising themselves.
Awesome.
So the best thing is to just listen.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there anything else that one can do as a person who's, quotes and quotes, a shoulder to lean on?
Okay, so I have dealt with parents who have issues with their disabled kids, and anytime I tried to do more than just listening, it ended up worsening the situation. So I noticed that the best thing sometimes, okay, if you mentioned a problem to me and I realized, okay, that is something that can be solved by a different organization, I can connect you with that. That's absolutely okay. Connecting someone with resources that they actually need. If you mentioned a problem and your problem was, I don't know how to get my child diagnosed, because you do need a medical report to access certain services. So if I notice that that's what you need, I'm just going to connect you with that type of resource.
Okay.
So that's absolutely okay. You can connect someone to the resources that they need.
We've talked really much about a child, and I think it's because we are also having the steps where we start with the child going on to the adulthood. But now we also sadly have people who are adults, or rather they are into adulthood, and they've lived with these spaces where nobody has really come out to appreciate them with their ability. Now, is there a way that we can show them, especially now that they are adults? Unajua mtoto mdogo, at least nitamshika mkono, nimfanye nini. Is there a way that I can show the adult one that, you know what, in this space I care for you, not the parent, but now the able differently kind of child. I mean, adults. Sorry.
Yes. So I think mostly I'm dealing with kids because I have dealt widely with kids. But with adults, I think it's just sometimes just even sharing a kind word with them. Sometimes just showing them that you actually understand that they're going through hardships and giving them grace. Like, for example, if you're working with someone who is differently abled, sometimes it's just important to make sure that you recognize their work, that you tell them, by the way, you're doing a really good job. Because you can't go around hugging people. You know, sometimes it's very important.
Some people
that you of course get consent from someone.
Yeah.
But I think for adults it's quite different, because what you say really impacts them. Yeah, it really impacts them. Also, sometimes showing them that you do regard them as human beings who have capabilities. For example, I know certain business people who have hired people with disabilities, and they really don't mind that they might be limited in doing certain things. They give them the jobs that they know they can do. You know, you can work with someone long enough to know that this is where they're strong, this is where they might be lacking a bit. So giving them these opportunities really helps them, because because you show them that I actually see you. I notice that you're a human being and you have certain abilities. You have things that you're really good at, and I'm going to give you that opportunity to do that.
I think one thing that I'm quickening before we even go to wrap up, it's one thing that always, it's hard not to notice. Oftentimes, if someone able differently comes into a room,
yes,
we all tend to stare.
Yes, yes.
Can you speak to us about that? Because, okay, for me, I always feel like I'm doing something wrong. And I think I do something wrong. But it's also a natural thing. But
yes.
Is there a way to lessen the idea of kuangalia sana?
Yes. Okay. So I have dealt, especially when I was still learning, when I was still in school, I was doing an internship somewhere, and there was a disabled person, and every time he would enter the room, we would all stare. Especially with all the new interns, we would stare. And we noticed for the older people who had worked there for a really long time, they wouldn't stare because they had already gotten used to it. So sometimes it's important to understand when you're staring, sometimes it's just out of curiosity. It's not really coming from a bad point. You're just staring because this is something that is new. But once you're already used to seeing these people, you're already used to interacting with these people, it doesn't really become an issue. Also, we used to ask this person, does it offend you if we stare? And he was like, sometimes he doesn't even notice
that you stare.
It's just something that
I've been killing myself
it's
for them.
something that they've experienced for such a long time. Trust me, most places they go to, people stare. People stare at whatever is different, whatever is new, whatever is not what they're used to. Yes, whatever is not common, people will stare. There are places you would go, and they would stare because they're not used to seeing someone like you.
This color.
Exactly. They're not used to seeing someone of your color.
And
that's absolutely okay. But when you're not really, especially for the disabled people, I'm sure most of them have stories where it started off from a place of feeling offended. Why are people looking at me? Is it because of my disability? Of course, most of the times it's because of the disability. It is. But then once they come to understand later on that it might just be out of curiosity. Just like the way kids stare. They don't stare because they have any ill motive towards the person they're staring at.
Yeah, sure.
No, most times they're just staring because they want to learn. They want to understand, like, who is this person? What are they all about?
So
they want to learn.
So what you're saying is it is normal to have that.
It's normal to have that.
The staring point of view.
Yes, as long as you're not staring. There's the difference between staring and giving someone a look. You can look at someone and sometimes you're making a weird expression.
Those facial expressions.
Fix your facial expressions. Before you start looking at a person with a disability, make sure you fix
facial expressions.
Fix your face first of all.
See when they're posing with all the connotations on your face.
But also, it's very easy to notice what a person is feeling by what they're showing on their face. Sometimes you can tell this person does not like me from how they're looking at me. Yes. So when it comes to staring, I think if it's from a point of curiosity, it's fine. But if it's from a point of you have your own misconceptions about this person, and that's why you're looking at them in a weird way, then I think that's something we need to fix.
Especially if we have a society where now, what you had told us initially, someone who thinks that autism is communicable.
Yes.
Automatically, their facial expression will be more like, you are engraving my space and I don't like it.
Yes.
And everything in them will want to scream, get away from me.
Yes.
That is nice. Have you learned something? Please let us know on the comment section what your take home has been. But before we wind up, let us have your parting shot to our viewers kindly.
Okay, so I think my parting shot will be on help, where you can get help. I think the most important thing is diagnosis. The very first step is making sure that you have, especially when we're dealing with kids, make sure that they're diagnosed really early on. Now, any government hospital will have a section for the kids where they can be diagnosed, especially if they have any type of disability. Including autism and all of these other things, and it's free. I think the only thing you pay for is a card.
Yeah, consultation.
Yes, the consultation fee. But from there, make sure that once you get the medical report, it's very important, go to the, I think they have their offices countrywide. It's called the National Council for People with Disabilities. take your medical report there. I think they'll ask for a few documents, and then you get your disability card. Now that disability card enables you to get certain services and certain aids. For example, the wheelchairs, crutches, hearing aids, all of these different things that might really be needed. And then from there, it allows you to also get a disability, how do we call it? There's a certain amount of money that families with disabilities get every month. It really helps. Yes. So I think just really make sure that you're getting diagnosed early on, and from then on, just try to seek help. Try to seek help as much as possible. If you need it, seek help. Yes. Yeah.
That has been such an inspiration. Some of the nuggets of wisdom that I've come out with, I know I will apply them in my today society. I hope you too will apply them for yourself and for the people around your community, because we are looking at improving our nation one step at a time. I hope that this season has been a blessing for you. I hope that this education, the social education, has been something that has ignited some knowledge in you, and you're going to apply it to your society. It has been me, Wairimu Gashoya. Until tomorrow, see you then.
Truth TV, empowering you.